Welcome to this lecture on human physiology. Today, we are going to explore a fascinating and vital topic: coronary circulation. The heart is the hardest working muscle in the human body, pumping gallons of blood every single day. But have you ever wondered how the heart itself gets the energy to keep beating? In this session, we will uncover the specialized network of vessels that keeps your heart alive, and we will learn the physical principles that govern how blood flows through them. Let us start with a simple analogy. Imagine a busy chef cooking hundreds of meals in a massive restaurant. Even though the chef is surrounded by food all day, they cannot just absorb it through their skin. They must sit down and eat their own dedicated meal to keep their energy up. The human heart works in the exact same way. It is a powerful pump pushing blood to every organ, but the heart muscle cannot extract oxygen from the blood simply flowing through its inner chambers. Instead, it relies on its own private network of blood vessels to feed its hard-working cells. Now that we understand why the heart needs its own blood supply, let us look at how this network is structured. The muscular tissue of the heart is called the myocardium. To feed this tissue, the coronary circulation uses the left and right coronary arteries. These arteries branch off directly from the base of the aorta. This strategic location is crucial because it ensures the heart receives the freshest, most highly oxygenated blood immediately after it leaves the lungs. From there, these arteries branch into a fine network of capillaries that weave deeply through the heart muscle, allowing for rapid exchange of oxygen and nutrients. Following the path of the blood, once the heart muscle has extracted the oxygen and nutrients it needs, the waste must be removed. The fine capillaries transition into cardiac veins, which collect the now deoxygenated blood. These veins eventually merge into a large, specialized vessel known as the coronary sinus. The coronary sinus acts as the main drain for the heart, dumping the used blood directly back into the right atrium. From the right atrium, this blood will be sent to the lungs for reoxygenation, completing the cycle. Before we move on to the physics of blood flow, let us see this anatomy with a concrete visual. Here, you are looking at the anterior surface of the human heart. Notice the large aorta at the top. Right at its base, you can see the right coronary artery and the left main coronary artery branching off, highlighted in red. These vessels travel down and wrap around the heart, branching into smaller and smaller vessels to cover the entire myocardium. Running alongside them, in blue, are the cardiac veins, which gather the deoxygenated blood to return it to the right atrium. This diagram beautifully illustrates the extensive, dedicated plumbing system the heart requires. Having seen the anatomy, we must understand the physiological demand placed on this system. Unlike your skeletal muscles, which can rest when they are tired, your heart must beat continuously, every minute of every day. This means it has an incredibly high and constant demand for oxygen. In fact, even when you are completely at rest, the heart extracts about 70 to 80% of the oxygen delivered to it. This is a staggering amount, much higher than almost any other organ in the human body. Because it already takes almost all available oxygen at rest, the heart has very little reserve to draw from if demands increase. This high oxygen demand brings us to an important clinical reality. Understanding coronary circulation is absolutely critical because it is the primary system involved in one of the leading causes of death worldwide: heart attacks, medically known as myocardial infarctions. If a coronary artery becomes narrowed or completely blocked by a buildup of cholesterol plaques, the blood flow stops. The heart muscle downstream from that blockage is suddenly starved of oxygen. Because the heart cannot stop beating to conserve energy, those oxygen-starved cells quickly begin to die, leading to severe cardiac damage.
To understand how the heart prevents starvation and gets more blood when needed, we can look at the fundamental physics of fluid flow. This formula is a variation of Ohm's law applied to fluid dynamics. It states that Q equals delta P divided by R. Conceptually, blood flow is driven forward by pressure, but pushed back by the resistance of the vessels. Q represents the total coronary blood flow in milliliters per minute. Delta P is the pressure gradient, which is the aortic pressure pushing blood in, minus the right atrial pressure, where it exits. Finally, R is the vascular resistance. If the driving pressure increases, flow increases. But if the vessels narrow and resistance goes up, the flow will decrease. Now that we have our formula, let us see this with a concrete example of a patient resting in a hospital bed. We are given a mean aortic pressure of 90 millimeters of mercury and a right atrial pressure of 5 millimeters of mercury. The vascular resistance is 0.34. We want to find the total coronary blood flow. First, we calculate the driving pressure, delta P, by subtracting the right atrial pressure from the aortic pressure, giving us 85 millimeters of mercury. This is the net physical force moving the fluid. Next, we divide this 85 by the resistance of 0.34. The math gives us a final value of 250 milliliters per minute. This means exactly 250 milliliters of fresh blood is feeding the heart every minute at rest. This resting calculation leads us to an important question. What happens when you start exercising? When you jog, your heart beats faster and needs much more oxygen. As we learned earlier, the heart already extracts almost all available oxygen at rest, so it must increase the actual volume of blood flowing through the vessels. However, the heart cannot rely on raising blood pressure alone to push more blood, because excessively high blood pressure would be dangerous for the entire body. Instead, the coronary arteries dilate, meaning they widen. This vasodilation drastically lowers the vascular resistance, R, allowing a massive increase in flow without needing a dangerous spike in pressure. Let us calculate exactly how much the flow increases for our exercising patient. We're given a slightly higher aortic pressure of 100 millimeters of mercury, while right atrial pressure stays at 5. Because the vessels dilated, the new resistance is much lower, at 0.10. First, we find the new pressure gradient by subtracting 5 from 100, giving us 95 millimeters of mercury. Notice the driving pressure only increased slightly. Now, we divide this 95 by the drastically reduced resistance of 0.10. The result is 950 milliliters per minute. This is a massive, nearly four-fold increase in blood flow, beautifully illustrating that lowering resistance is the primary way the heart feeds itself during stress. We have covered the full topic of coronary circulation, so let us review the key takeaways. First, remember that the coronary circulation is the heart's own dedicated life support system, ensuring the hardest working muscle never runs out of fuel. Second, because the heart extracts almost all available oxygen even at rest, it relies heavily on widening its blood vessels, lowering resistance to increase flow when it works harder. Finally, understanding this delicate balance between driving pressure and vascular resistance highlights exactly why blockages are so incredibly dangerous, as they disrupt this vital flow and cause heart attacks. You now have a solid understanding of how the heart sustains itself.